holidays, but like we're full steam ahead doing all these rollouts in the middle of Black Friday and Christmas. We're like, I thought you guys are kind of locked down now, but you know, it's a big priority for them. So you know, scrambling at the end of the year to try to make some big impact.
Okay, Mark, put your toy camera right here. We go with real radio.
Right, Jerry.
We will check mics right now. You'll
Oh man, excuse me.
All right. Test. 1, 2, 3. Josh?
Check. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Check.
Check. 1, 2, 3. Check. Nailed that.
Oh, you still took her headphones with her? Is that
No, I haven't. She left. She came back to me.
So if I cough out of the mic over here, can you hear that?
That's it. Yeah, you should be fine.
Oh really? Okay, good. I'll try to do that because man, that's been a great one.
When you call, if they're highly directed, just turn over and go that way.
Really? All right, great.
Hey, or guzzle some water.
What am I doing wrong? All right.
Bunch of scotch. There we
Scott's
go.
all around? Yeah, we got
A couple rounds.
We
out,
got
please.
nothing to do the rest of the day. Take a nap and goodbye lunch.
All right, we have a good picture of Arik. My head, we're still gonna get Josh in there. Whatever that's worth.
That's all right. They're here for him.
I know. True.
They're all tuning in today for me.
They're all here for Arik. They're not here for me.
All the groupies will be on.
Okay, so we were on Facebook Live. Is there anything you don't want to discuss? Anything that you'd rather not go through or go over? I mean, the point. My thought is just we're just going to kind of go through your history.
Yep.
You know, how you started the company, how it's evolved, what's changed. You were in San Francisco, now you come to this area. Why?
Yep.
All that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but if there's anything, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there'd just be some interest in hearing, the process as an entrepreneur and an innovator.
Absolutely.
Everybody just thinks you come up with an idea, somebody gives you some money, and you're rich. They don't
Yeah.
realize it's not a straight line. It's,
Yeah.
all of that, and I
Yeah.
think that could be very interesting.
Yeah, I love hearing entrepreneur stories and what's worked, what didn't work,
Yeah.
what's changed, and all that kind of stuff. Just because I think it's fascinating for people. So, and we do give out the call-in number, so there's the potential someone could call.
Oh,
in.
okay. All right, on.
So we'll see. Maybe
So-
Josh might have planted someone to call in. So.
Nope. No softballs today, fellas.
Josh, I'm really looking for a bank that can Tri-Counties help me out? Absolutely, yes we can.
Will you do some kind of interviewing with Josh around Tri-Counties as well?
We'll talk a little bit. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I'll talk a little bit about what I do, introduce Josh, give me a chance to talk a little bit about what he does.
Gotcha.
But it's mostly gonna be about you.
Okay. All right. Should be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so business-wise, I think it definitely is deferred revenue is going to pay off for sure,
Yeah.
to the extent you can. And then, I don't know if you're cash or accrual basis, but if you're accrual basis, then if you've earned it, it doesn't matter. You can't defer it, right? So it's only if you're cash basis, you can defer deposit the money. But I mean, that being said, there are things to be done before year end.
Well, some expenses you can.
Yeah.
You want to.
And then personally, there's not as much to do just because it's more of a corporate bill. But,
Right. Yeah.
But I do suggest people prepay state taxes because that's looking like that's going to go away. Definitely be severely limited. So as long as someone's not personally named to you, it makes sense to prepay your California tax. It makes sense to prepay your second real estate tax.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, that seems to be one of
As
the
long as
big
you're
ones,
not
right?
named
Is the
to you.
mortgage deductions
Well,
can be
mortgages
limited at like
potentially
$500,000.
limited, yeah, and then real estate taxes, which would be property taxes on your principal residence, on your vacation property, on your car, and then state taxes is a big one for us in California. So if your state tax is $50,000, you know you can deduct it this year, and you can't deduct it next year.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a big difference, yeah. My battery cover, thank you, sir. Or a new one. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5 FM, part of the Wall Street Business Network. This is one of your hosts today. I do have a guest co-host with me, Mark Bellows here. I'm a tax principal with Clifton Larson Allen, CPA firm, one of the largest in the country, but with a local office here in Sacramento. And I work with manufacturers and distributors, business owners, contractors, real estate investors and developers. And we're busy right now kind of doing some tax planning at the year end coming up, and potential tax bill out there. We're hoping it'll reduce taxes in some way. I did see that the Senate realized that some of their hand scribbling has resulted in an error of about $360 billion. So we'll see what happens when the Senate and the House come together, which is the next step. They each have a House bill, so now they need to reconcile the two, which is what reconciliation is, so they can come up with one bill that they can present to the president for his signature. And he has said he wants to get that signed by Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. We'll see if that happens. So, my host today, Josh Carell. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Doing real well, thank you.
Excellent. Josh is a banker extraordinaire with Tri-Counties Bank.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about, and you've been a guest before, but you want to remind our listeners a little bit about what you do and who you are?
Yeah, I'm a commercial relationship manager with Tri-Counties Bank, work out of our downtown Sacramento branch, and essentially my role is working with business owners to help them grow their banking relationship as they grow their business, whether that's through real estate loans, lines of credit, equipment loans. We're a full-service bank and offer any product a business owner could need.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure.
I had a regular co-host on this show for most of the year, Katie, and Katie has moved on to doing some other things, and so I'm looking for a new co-host. And so Josh is one of the ones that volunteered to guest co-host for a couple times. So appreciate being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You know, we're talking about tax reform, and one of the things that is out there, one of the provisions out there, is to limit the mortgage interest deduction to only the first $500,000 of debt, and this is scheduled to take effect in 2018. And so one of the things I see potentially happening with that is someone who had in our area, California, and some of the other, the blue states, right? California, Washington, you go to New York, etc. Houses cost a lot more than $500,000. So one of the things I think is potentially out there, and this is why we get your thought on this, Josh, is I could see people going to their business, borrowing from the business, taking those funds and using that as a down payment on the house, so that the maximum house mortgage is $500,000. What do you think? Is that a potential strategy that some may employ?
That can be a strategy. I mean, we always say check with your CPA.
Yeah,
but that's definitely something they can do. We just always advise our clients to make sure it's not a hindrance to the business whatsoever to take that money out. We want them to still maintain equity, keep that skin in the game, and that way they can still stay bankable, at least from the lending side.
Right.
Obviously, if they're cash flush, that's not as big of an issue. But yeah, that's something they could definitely look at, depending on whether they're doing a distribution or a bonus or increasing salary, something along those lines.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see because again, in our area, you get the house is $500,000 is not
Right.
enough. So the people have to do something other than come up with the funds. And if they want to borrow and not be able to deduct the interest, they want to find a way to deduct the interest. And one way to do that would be to get a business loan.
Well, and
versus
the other nice thing is historically, home interest rates are still very, very low.
Yeah.
So even if they do go over that amount, they're, with the interest rate being so low, it's not as big of an effect as it has been in the past.
right. Do you guys do home loans?
We do.
And so what's your rate, let's say, on a $500,000 loan?
Well, I think right now we're probably in the 4.28, 4.25,
Isn't that
4.5,
crazy?
somewhere in there. So
I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah,
Considering
yeah.
what it used to be, that's just phenomenal. Well, we've got a guest today, Arik Levy. Good morning, Arik.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show. Arik is the CEO of LuxerOne. And so maybe you could tell us a little bit about what LuxerOne is and does.
Yeah, absolutely. So LuxerOne is an automated package locker solution. So
Okay.
what we do is we have these locker systems that are designed to handle packages. We put them into apartment buildings. We work with some major retailers. We work with a lot of different locations where you can place these lockers to handle package handling. So if you think about large apartment buildings, it used to be they would get 3, 4, 5 packages a day. Now they're getting 50 or 100 packages a day.
Amazon and
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, e-commerce is just growing like crazy, right? And
It's
so
huge.
because of that, you have package volume growing like crazy. And it used to be the apartment building would take those packages, handle them. When the resident gets home, they give them the package. Now it's 50, 100 packages. It's a full-time job. And so they came to us and said, hey, do you have a way for us to handle this and solve it? And that's how LuxerOne was born.
That's great. Now, before that, before that, you had the locker concept, right?
Yeah.
So what was it? What were you using it for before packages?
Yeah, so I've been in the locker business for about 12 years now, and really kind of the innovators in the space. Started with a company in San Francisco called Laundry Locker. And Laundry Locker, we place lockers into apartment buildings to handle dry cleaning and wash and fold. So
Okay.
12 years ago when we started, package problem, it
Wasn't an issue.
Yeah, it wasn't
Right.
an issue. People really weren't getting that much online. In fact, it was really the early days of people even having internet access in their home. It doesn't seem like that long ago, 12 years ago, but it's amazing how far we've come. And so we would place these lockers into apartment buildings and still do. People drop their dry clean in the locker. We come, we pick it up, service it, put it back in the locker, and they pick it up at their convenience.
So you guys wouldn't do the service, no? You'd have a dry cleaning company do it?
Initially, we didn't, but the service really grew pretty rapidly. So within about 3 years, we became the largest dry cleaner in San Francisco.
Really?
We built a 10,000 square foot plant where we do all of our cleaning. We have a laundromat where we do all of our wash and fold. And yeah, still, multi-million-dollar laundry operation in San Francisco, still
That's
doing that.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's been fun.
We've got a couple minutes till a commercial break, so at some point here, maybe the next segment we'll get into a little bit more of your background. But did you ever think along the way that you were going to be the biggest launderer in San Francisco?
Well, when I came up with
We
the
wanted to
concept,
be, but-
yeah. Well, when I came up with the concept, the laundry locker, it was just sort of like, okay, if you live in San Francisco, this is just such a no-brainer because the dry cleaner, most people in San Francisco work pretty hard. Maybe you leave your house 6, 8 in the morning, get home 6, 7 o'clock at night. You might go out and do something after work. Getting your dry cleaner, your wash and fold done is impossible. In fact, a lot of the apartment buildings don't even have washers and dryers, so you've got to go to a laundromat. And so, I came up with this concept where you could just drop it in a locker and the cleaner can come pick it up and service it. I was like, this is a no-brainer. Somebody's got to be doing this. And there was nobody out there doing it. And so we built it, and I always thought this was the way the whole world would do dry cleaning. It made no sense to me that you do it any other way. So yeah, I definitely expect us to become a big service.
Well, that's fascinating. So you've got Laundry Locker. You started in apartment buildings. Are there other places where you'd put them? Would you businesses or college campuses, anything like that?
Yeah, so Laundry Locker is really just focused in San Francisco and the Bay Area. We have a couple operations in Oakland. Primarily apartment buildings. We also do a lot of office buildings. So like the Bank of America building, we have a locker bank in there. We have 6 public locations. We call them our kiosks. They are kind of like a self-service, an ATM machine vestibule for dry cleaning. So you swipe your credit card, lets you in, you drop them off. Those are open 24/7.
Okay, well, we've got to go to commercial break.
Yeah. no
So
problem.
we're talking with Arik Levy here, CEO of LuxerOne. We're listening to Beyond the Numbers. We'll be right back. I hear music.
I got music.
I hear the music.
Okay, good. It's just me. There it is. Okay, good.
So good, yeah. I mean, leading into the next part, I'd love to just hear, kind of about, are you thinking of expanding any more into the dry cleaning and
Yeah.
how, I mean, we could probably imagine how you went from utilizing that to package delivery.
LuxerOne, do you own the casino in Vegas?
Not quite. That's a Luxor. I'm the Luxor.
Luxor.
One of these days. I do stay there now all the
Maybe I'll
time.
get some of my
Even though
money
it's-
back.
Yeah, if you own Luxor, you'd be doing quite well.
It's kind of dumpy, but it's sort of fun to stay there. We go and place all the O's with ease. So how many listeners do you guys typically have? Do you know?
Don't know.
It's like there's no way to tell.
My dad's
Yeah,
listening.
they don't do subscribe to Arbitrons. Millions.
Millions. At least it does.
And we're back. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5 FM, part of the Wall Street Business Network. I don't even know who that was. Is that Tom Jones? Tom Jones? All right. It's not unusual to be loved by anybody or somebody or something. So
Everyone.
yeah, that was the 60s. That was an old song. I don't know. So we're talking with Arik Levy here, CEO of LuxerOne, Coach Josh Carell and myself. If you want to call in and ask questions of Arik or Josh or myself, 866-576-1055. Okay, so maybe take us back a little bit. What did you, like, college, graduation, how did you get started? So, because
Yeah, you talked about, it was an idea that you had, and you thought, wow, there's got to be a lot of people who've already had this idea.
Yeah.
When you found out you were the first to kind of bring it to fruition, what was the process? How do you get started taking something from an idea and turning it into a viable business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, two different questions there,
Yes.
but from a background perspective,
Yeah.
I grew up on the East Coast, Massachusetts, New York. My dad was actually a professor at Bentley University, and so that's pretty much where I went. It was that or UMass, and went to school there. And when I graduated, went to work for General Electric in their IMLP program. So they're pretty well known for their leadership development programs. It's kind of a 2-year rotational program. Fantastic, amazing learning experience. Really kind of helped me, become the leader I am today. And but I found that the corporate world just wasn't for me. I really wanted to be able to kind of put my money where my mouth was a little bit more, and
Right.
and have a larger impact. And so there was an opportunity to go join a startup, and this was around '99, kind of the beginning of sort of the first wave of things. And so I was like, okay, hey, there's a startup opportunity. Let's go do it. It was up in Burlington, Vermont, not generally known as the hotbed of technology at the time. But went up there, fantastic experience, really my first introduction to entrepreneurship and seeing a company built from scratch, and really enjoyed that. But had the opportunity in 2000 to move out to San Francisco, and always wanted to be out on the West Coast, but didn't really know much about it. Thought it was kind of all this sun and LA and sand, and showed up in San
It's a little
Francisco.
different.
Yeah, well, the first day I was there, it was like 100 degrees. It was, this never happens. Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That never happens.
Yeah.
So was there for 2000 and really kind of just right at the end of the peak, and then the crash, and did the whole .com thing. My training's in computer information systems, so definitely have a technology degree. Long story short, we ended up working for a company in Santa Rosa, and I was still living in San Francisco, and that's how Laundry Locker kind of was born, was because I was leaving at 6 a.m, driving an hour and a half to Santa Rosa, going to the gym, getting home at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and literally couldn't even get my laundry done.
Yeah.
And so that's how it started. I think through my education, which I went to business school, Bentley, it's really well known for business, and it's kind of an MBA program, but an undergrad.
Right.
And then working with both large companies and small companies, I felt like I had a pretty good understanding of running business, and always said, hey, if I have a really good idea, I'm going to give it a try. And so I was always searching for that really good idea, and had a lot of them, but never thought there were ones I was willing to like give up my career, take every penny I had, and give it a go. And to me, Laundry Locker was that first one where it was like, that's a no-brainer. Everybody should be doing dry cleaning that way. Let me give it a shot.
So when did you do that? When did you start that?
2005.
2005. And how, you started with one locker or multiple lockers? How
Yeah,
did you really start?
Yeah, I ripped out the seats in my car, and I got on Craigslist and started calling apartments for rent and said, hey, I got this idea. Do you want some lockers? I had actually ordered some lockers, and I was very fortunate. The company I was at before that, I was VP of operations and said, listen, I plan on doing my own thing. You know, can you give me 6 months? I'll give you guys 6 months. We'll help find a replacement. We'll phase things in. And so I had really 6 months to kind of build my business. So went and designed the product, designed the software, the hardware, and then, you know, started pretty much cold calling off Craigslist people saying, hey, do you want some lockers in your building? I'll give them to you for free, and we'll be able to do some dry cleaning. I'll even share some revenue with you. And so that's kind of how it started, and got some takers. And real estate's interesting because when you get into these markets, you'll start finding, you know, there's a lot of onesie twosies, and then you have guys that own 5 or 10, and you have guys that own 50 or 100, or girls or companies.
Yes.
And so, you know, once you get in there and you find the right people, they can start rolling you out pretty aggressively, and that's what happened to us.
So how many lockers would you start with typically? Or would you do it based on like how many apartments?
Yeah,
there
it's
are?
based on number of units. You know, like a 100-unit building might have 10 lockers in
Okay.
it. Yeah.
And then, what does the apartment owner get? I know you said initially there was kind of a revenue split. Is it the convenience that's a benefit to them to drive business their way to rent at the complex?
Yeah, so I mean, so it's all about amenities, and amenities help sell buildings, right? So if I have one building and the 2 of them across the street, rents are the same, apartments look the same, it's the amenities. And so you'll see, especially nowadays, there's a lot of focus on how do we improve the resident experience, how do we offer gyms and business centers and pools. And so this is a fantastic amenity to offer, and you know, it's free of charge to the property, whereas most amenities are paying a lot of money for it. Initially, we were even doing a revenue share with them. It actually, the amount of money that we were sharing with them and the overhead to actually handle it just wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
So we and at this point in time, we really didn't need to do it. I mean, now properties call us and say, hey, I've got a new building coming up, can you put lockers in them? So we saw that switch where it went from us aggressively going out and trying to get into the buildings to them contacting us.
It's always interesting, like a lot of entrepreneurs, you're providing the public a service or a product that they didn't know they needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, on some level they thought about it.
Right.
Wouldn't it be great if I could do this, and then someone like you, Arik, comes along and says, here's a way for you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like Amazon with the 1-day shipping now, right? Nobody thought they needed 1-day shipping, but if you give it to them and it's free,
They want it.
They want it, right? So with dry cleaning, the number one reason you choose a dry cleaner is for convenience.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about the dry cleaner you go to, it's probably on your way to work or your way home or to the gym or something like that. And so if it was at your house or at your gym or a place you're going to every day, that's going to be the most convenient solution for you. And that's how we win this, because you can't get more convenient than a locker in your building that you can drop off 24/7.
Absolutely.
So you started in 2005 with the laundry locker, and then at some point you said, hey, we need to have a laundry facility to actually do the laundry.
Yep.
So when did you get that one on board?
That came on about 2008, about 3
Okay.
years into it. We started just growing quite a bit. There's a couple of, so the way dry cleaning works, a lot of operations will have sort of a plant on site. Other ones will have a centralized plant, and then there's some people that'll do wholesale cleaning. But the wholesale cleaners don't do, they do a decent amount of volume, but we exceeded their volume pretty quickly. And so they literally couldn't keep up with us, and the only way we could do it was to build our own operation. Not
And-
something we wanted to do, but that's our only option.
How steep was the learning curve as you go from, you know, you said operating the locker business essentially out of your car to starting out, to then going to owning a 10,000 square foot building and running a commercial dry cleaning facility?
Yeah, it's a great question. It scared me to death. I mean, that was the last thing I wanted to do. I mean, when I said, yeah, it was reluctant. I mean, I was hoping we could outsource it, and we were really, you know, running a delivery service is not, I mean, there's challenges, right? But anybody can kind of figure that out. You get some guys in a truck and you run around and deliver stuff.
Yeah.
But dry cleaning is a very specialized industry, and you know, you need to know how to treat clothes, how not to ruin clothes, how to press clothes, how to make sure you get out stains. And so, yes, it was very daunting.
It's got regulations.
Regulations,
What
yeah.
to do with the product and the used product and disposition, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even just building the plant, you know, I mean, as an entrepreneur, you wing it, right? I mean, it's all about calculated
Sure,
risk,
sure.
right? And so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, let's build this plant. I don't know the first thing about building a plant, so let me find some guy,
Yep.
you know, try to tap your resources, found somebody to come in and build it. The whole thing was built. We put about $500,000 into it, and we go to get PG&E to turn on the gas, and they go, well, you can't put that meter there. You know, you need a waiver from the city to get that, and they don't give the waiver. I mean, literally, you know, we were ready to open the next week, and they're like, PG&E's the last step, and then they said they couldn't hook up our gas. So you run into challenges like that just, you know, can cripple you
Right.
instantaneously. You know, luckily you get through them, hopefully.
Right. You learn to overcome those challenges and expect the unexpected.
Yeah, and then, you know, with the dry cleaning, we solved it by hiring some people who had some great experience in the space and, you know, implemented processes around it.
Excellent. Then did you also, I assume you needed fleets of vehicles to deliver everything back and forth? It was more than just, you know, constructing a building, setting a plant. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it to get the business up and running and off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's, yeah, I mean, with Laundry Locker, you've got lockers, so you got to control the manufacturing. How do you get the lockers out there? How do you get them placed? Installing them, finding locations for them, selling into the properties, selling to the residents, you know, vehicles and drivers and plants and dry cleaning and supplies and customer service and you name it. Yeah, I mean, it's I think one of the most interesting things is from the outside you look at a business and you go, oh, that's so simple. And you know, you look at anybody's business, you go, oh man, that guy's got a great, easy business to run. And then you peel back the layers, and there's almost no business that's actually really easy to run.
Well, and that's, I mean, a common misconception is that's just kind of a straight line that you come up with an idea, you get some capital, and you're off and running. They don't realize all the bends and churns and knots that are actually in that line to go from an idea to a thriving business.
Yeah, and you mentioned one there that you just kind of glossed over, which is you get the money.
Yeah.
That's that's not easy, you know. I mean, we're in a climate.
Did you get capital from outside sources?
Well, yeah. I mean, initially I had saved up some money, not much, like $25,000 to start this thing, which in the grand scheme of things is like nothing. You think that's some decent money, but you know, when you're not getting a paycheck, that's nothing. You burn through that super quick.
Sure.
Went and raised some loans from some friends and family who, you know, luckily believed in me and got that and got off the ground and got to a point where, you know, we were making a little bit of money, but you start looking at it, you're like, hey, if you're making $100,000 in revenue, wow, that seems like a decent business. Well, now you got, okay, maybe you're dropping 10, 20 to the bottom line, and now you've got to pay yourself. Like,
There's not much there.
yeah, I mean, once you're doing, and I was like, oh, well, when we hit a million, we'll be doing great. You hit a million, you're like, okay, like, this actually isn't even that much money. So, yeah, you know, and then, you know, we were fortunate enough, in San Francisco, great climate for raising money. We were able to find some angel investors. We're in, what was really exciting about this business is we're in people's apartment buildings. And so we're interacting with so many people on a daily basis. They're seeing our system and going, wow, that's really smart. How do I get involved in that? And so we get a lot of interest and phone calls around, you know, hey, can we be part of this company?
Now, what do you think about a lot of the crowdfunding that's popping up nowadays? Kickstarter, you know, GoFundMe, things like that. Is that something you would have utilized as you were raising capital starting off, or?
We definitely would have looked at it for sure. I mean, you know, at this point in time with the size of our company and what we do, it's not necessary.
Right.
It's not feasible. But back then, for sure, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure it would have been a Kickstarter campaign, but definitely GoFundMe.
But something along those lines, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Crowdsourcing.
They're amazing opportunities. You know, even the loan services that are out there, they're fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you and we got about a minute before we go to break. So 2008, you built the plant, and you're up and running. Now you're the big launderer, and then what was next?
So next was, how do we expand this thing beyond San Francisco?
Okay.
How do we take Laundry Locker nationwide and maybe even worldwide? And so that was a fun process. We actually went and raised our second round of financing, and it was all around that. We're gonna franchise this concept out. And so we brought in franchise consultants. We spent about $250,000 becoming a legal franchise, so we could go out and start selling the franchise.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a break. We're going to commercial. When we come back, we'll continue the thought with where Laundry Locker went with the franchising concept. We'll be right back. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers.
Do I have time to grab some more water?
Absolutely. Salem Communications. They might have sold Insignia or something. But they own all 4 stations.
Gotcha.
So. Don't drive angry. That's good advice. That's good advice.
Is that just a board for potential bumper stickers? Is that where you get the-
Well, you know, we'd write up there like the guests' information. This is the way Rick and I used to do it, because I worked before Katie and Rick as a financial investment advisor. So we'd put it all, and that way you can see it there. But then, as you can tell, the eraser never worked well. The pins kind of stuck. So I go with this. It's just easy.
Do a Kickstarter, get you a new whiteboard.
Right? I know.
Do we have anybody watching the Facebook live
Oh, we
stream?
do.
Nice.
Yeah. It's my personal Facebook, so it'd only be anybody that knows me.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know how else to do at this point. I was doing Periscope for a while. So So Periscope's interesting, but Periscope's a worldwide thing, so you get people. At one point, I had 2 guys from France that were speaking Arabic back and forth. And I thought, well, that's interesting, but I don't know what they're saying on my feed. And,
They're jumping on a channel and using it as a way to.
Whatever, to talk, but because you get people from Russia that watch, or China, or whatever, which is, it's interesting, but it's not like I drive in listeners to the show. It's just kind of an interesting thing. So
Interesting.
So that's why I went to Facebook Live. Plus, I can maybe listen to a video. So
Man, this My Pillow guy's all over the place.
he is. I know.
He is blowing up.
I know. My wife likes sleeping with a pillow.
With the My Pillow?
No, she doesn't have the My Pillow, but she likes a pillow.
Well, my wife asked me what I want for Christmas. I was like, kind of need a new pillow. It's like, goddamn My Pillow guy. It's like in my head all the time right now.
And I want the thing where I can use the spray to build a boat out of a screen door. I want that as well. What is it, the sealant, like the Insta Seal that comes in the spray can? You never seen the guy that
No.
just cuts a boat in half, uses the sealant, and he's out there.
Nice.
Doing this.
That's awesome.
That's sweet. That's hilarious.
I asked for a boat. Maybe she'll just give me that.
Yeah. Half a boat.
Yeah.
No. I usually get about 100 viewers during the course of the hour
Oh, wow.
on Facebook.
Well, that's cool.
And then put it up on LinkedIn and usually get a couple hundred viewers that view it on LinkedIn. So we're back. You listen to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5 FM, part of the Wall Street Business Network. Mark Bell is here with Josh Carell, my co-host, and then our guest today, Arik Levy. So you were telling us that about kind of where Laundry Locker went after you grew big enough to do your own laundry, or to do your own, have your own dry clean, and so do your own laundry, and so so you looked into franchising.
Yep.
And so where did you go with that?
Yeah, so we became a legally set up franchise. And towards the end of that process, we were approached by a private equity firm and said, well, why don't we fund you to roll this out yourself instead through franchising. And so we started going through that process, actually got a term sheet from them. We're going to raise a decent amount of money and really roll this thing out nationwide. And went through due diligence. And concurrently, sort of during that process and doing all this exploration, we came up with a third business model, which was, why don't we just license our software and our technology? Because what would happen, all these dry cleaners, when we started going out with the franchise concept a little bit or starting to feel it out, the dry cleaners would call us and say, hey, this is cool, but I've got a well-established brand. I don't want to use the Laundry Locker brand and scrap my whole company, but I want lockers. I want to be able to use those. How can I do that? And we said, well, that wouldn't really fall in with franchising. And so we said, well, we own this technology, and you really can't do lockers without the software. And we own a lot of the IP around it, and we know how to do this. And so what if we were to just sell you and license you the software and sell you the lockers, and that would be a much easier business to run. As I started going through the franchising concept, I realized, man, this is going to take a ton of money. This is going to take a ton of staff, all the legal, all the sales, the whole nine. This is just painful. And so private equity, I was kind of scared of that too. I was like, this is going to be a challenge as well. And luckily, sort of at the end of the day, the private equity didn't work out. And so we pivoted and just went down the software path, and that became a product we have right now called Drop Locker. We have about 75 partners all over the globe. We have operations in Japan, and we have them in Spain, and we have them in France, and we have them in Australia and Russia. It's been amazing, yeah. So that's been a super fun company. In fact, I thought that was kind of going to be my, not last hurrah, but that was like, man, I built this lifestyle company. It was going to be easy to run. I could kind of handle the software, work with a couple developers, sit back, be on the beach wherever I wanted, and run this. And that was that business is kind of there, but then this Luxor opportunity came in front of us, and I just couldn't pass that one up.
Well, and typical what I've seen with entrepreneurs over the years, and I'm sure you've seen it as well, is they're not the type to say, okay, I'm going to go sit on the beach and not do anything.
Yeah, they don't
do
sit
that
and rest.
sometimes for a little bit, but they're like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
I got to do something. And I have an idea or something. I mean, that's usually what I see happen.
Well, that's the entrepreneurial spirit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my wife will ask me, what would we do if we sell the company? I go, start another one. People are like, do you want to sell your company? I was like, well, sure, but I'm just going to go start another one, and I really like this company. This is a good concept that has a really good alignment with my skill set, right? And so, if I were to exit one, I'll just start another. That's what I'm doing.
So Drop Locker sells the software and the IP, basically?
Yep.
Okay. And so you're going along the line of selling that, you're relaxing on the beach somewhere, and
Never got to that stage.
what's the next concept that came to you?
Well, then it was, so what happened is through that, we now had a network of, we call them our partners, across the globe who are implementing this laundry locker type concept, right? So you go to Chicago, it's a company called Pressbox, and you go to New York, it's a company called Dash Locker. And so these guys are out there, in essence, exponentially multiplying what we've done,
right.
which is awesome to see. And it's very similar to franchising, but really just through, we're now a white label. Like, nobody knows it's Drop Locker. In fact, we had to take all of our branding off of it and everything like that. And so, but they're out there rolling out this business model, and we're getting feedback from them. They're saying, hey, all the properties are asking us about packages. Like, Arik, you got to figure out a way to solve this package problem with the lockers.
What year is this?
This is probably like 2012 is when we really started hearing rumblings of it.
So, and this is 12 is probably, that's what, 5 years ago. So that's probably when you kind of started doing more and more online shopping.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's when it really started taking off, and
which is
Amazon.
Why you started hearing people talk about it. Yeah.
Yep. So people are starting to talk about it. They're going, man, we just got so many packages. It's cool what you guys have done with dry cleaning, but we need a solution for packages. Can we use the locker or something there? And that's when I understood that there was a real fantastic opportunity for it. So I started going out and doing some market research, talking to our properties in San Francisco. Hey, if we built this system, would you pay for it? What do the economics look like? Who can we charge for it? How does this work? Kind of heading down the path of, and the feedback we got was around, well, we love these lockers, but we're not willing to pay for them. Like, this isn't our problem,
Right.
Amazon's selling all these packages. It's their problem. How do they deal with it? Or, the residents are getting all these packages. Just have the carriers go direct to the property. We're not going to take packages anymore. And so there was a lot of dynamics going on at the time. We tried coming out with a free locker solution, but really, the problem got too bad for the apartments to the point where they said, well, we can't stop taking packages. I mean, if you live in an apartment building, access to packages is the number 2 most requested amenity besides a gym. And so they realized, we need
Gym number 1, packages number 2.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that packages might become number 1 by now. I mean, it's
Well,
if you.
I can see it.
I was talking to a friend the other day. This guy who I'm just like, he's got to be buying everything online. And I said, hey, Kevin moved into a building. He's like, oh, I just moved into a building that has your lockers in. I was like, oh, super cool. He's like, it's amazing. I'm buying everything online. I'm like, you weren't buying everything online before, Kevin? He goes, no, I couldn't get my packages. And so, it's like, there is a huge barrier if you live in apartment buildings. Yeah. And this, when we go back to that amenity discussion, is such a huge amenity that really drives residents to those buildings. It's like, hey, if I can get my packages delivered and I couldn't get them in the building across the street, that's a game changer. I mean, that's worth an extra $100 a month to me for many people.
Well, and I would imagine as a property manager, there's also a lot of benefits of the fact that you don't have to staff the office an extra 3-4 hours a night just so people can come pick up their packages.
Well, exactly. So that's how we sell it for the most part, is that it's the ROI for them is somewhere in the 6 to 9 month time frame of the staff augmentation of like, hey, we've got staff who's supposed to be leasing apartment buildings. Instead, they're dealing with packages all day. But then what they realize is it becomes like the number one amenity in their building that the tenants just love. So the tenants don't like having to go down to the leasing office, get home before 6 p.m. when it closes, say, hey, I've got a package, interrupt this person who might be trying to lease an apartment, have them go in the back, pull a package. I mean, we estimate that it costs them about $2 for every package to handle, because it takes them over 5 to 10 minutes to check in those packages, go get them, bring them back. It's a really expensive process.
Well, and from the consumer side, how do you tell your boss you need to leave early because you've got
I
a
gotta go
TV
pick
coming?
up my
Yeah.
package.
Yeah.
So how do the lockers work then? We'll get in a little bit more about the growth of LuxerOne, but how did the locker work? Is it number code? Is it a key? I'm trying to visualize.
Yeah, so it's an you can kind of think of an ATM machine, right? It's got a screen, and then it has, instead of something dispensing cash, it has a bunch of locker compartments. And so in the apartment building model, we have a couple different solutions, but in apartment buildings, the UPS or FedEx, they walk up to the building, and the first time the apartment building say, hey, listen, we're not taking them in the leasing office, we have the lockers right here, here's your code. So they go and they enter their code, it puts them into a mode where they can deliver packages. They find the resident, they scan the package, pops open the locker, and they put the package in the locker. So it takes them about 10 seconds per package to deliver to the locker. They know that their first time that they go make a delivery, they're going to have a successful delivery. It's going to be secure delivery. If the leasing office is not closed, they're able to get in there and they're able to deliver packages still. The resident then receives an email and a text notification that says, hey, you got a package. They go down to the locker, they scan their QR code or type in their access code, pops open, they take their package, they're on their way.
And I've seen, I don't live in an apartment building, so I've not actually seen those, but I've seen at Amazon has a locker at Safeway.
Yep.
So I suppose that's a similar type of concept.
Yeah, very similar concept. I mean, the Amazon lockers and the Safeway are really just for Amazon packages,
Exactly.
right? So, Amazon has realized the value of lockers.
Yeah.
And what they've realized is this same problem that I'm talking about, which is if you live in an apartment building and you don't have somebody who can accept your package, if you think about like Midtown Sacramento, right? A bunch of 4-unit buildings.
Right.
If you live in that 4-unit building, there's no way you get a package.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not putting that on your front doorstep.
Right.
And so Amazon will place lockers in convenient locations. So now that person can order something online, get it delivered to the locker. The carrier knows they're going to get a first-time successful delivery. The resident knows, or the customer knows, hey, I can go pick that up whenever I want. They walk up to the lockers, type in a code, pick up their package. It's been an incredibly powerful tool for Amazon to dominate this e-commerce space where, the other retailers don't have access to this, right? If I order something from Nordstrom's, my only option is UPS delivering it to my house or maybe to my office. Whereas Amazon, if I order it from Amazon, now I can get it to local Safeway. It's part of the reason they have 43% of the online e-commerce market.
That leads to another question: is you may not want to discuss this, but I would be surprised if Amazon had approached you about taking over your business because.
Well, Amazon.
Because you're ready made.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really want to comment too much on Amazon's business model per se, but I will tell you that one thing, they've come into the apartment building space and they've said to apartment buildings, we'll give you these lockers for free because they want to lock up that apartment building, right? They don't want Nordstrom's.
Yeah.
They want the experience to be 100 times better in that apartment building for an Amazon package than they do for that Nordstrom's package,
But
right?
that
so
would just be for
Amazon.
Well,
delivery,
they're trying to open
whereas
it up to
your
everybody.
product will take everything.
Well, absolutely. That is, so ours is an agnostic product, right? So when an apartment building puts our system in, they're solving their problem, they're solving the problem for the residents. When they put in an Amazon locker, maybe they're getting it for free, but they're really solving Amazon's package, helping Amazon forward their motives.
Okay, we're going to go to commercial break. When we get back, we'll continue. We'll finish up our conversation with Arik Levy. Listen to Beyond the Numbers at Monday 105.5. So I do want to get into your move to Sacramento.
What's that?
I do want to get into your move to Sacramento.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why you moved to Sacramento.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it's right around that timing. So
perfect.
Just my own curiosity, who absorbs the liability once they put the package in the lockers at the apartment complex? I didn't know if that was something you wanted to talk
What
about
if
on
the
the air.
driver puts Steve and Joe's, apartment 2A and 2B packages in the same locker by accident?
Yeah, I'd prefer not to get into that, but it
Yeah.
actually resides with the carrier still.
Okay,
So
okay.
until the carrier gets the package into the resident's hand, it's still the carrier's responsibility. So even if they leave it with the leasing office and the leasing office loses it, it's still the carrier's responsibility.
Okay.
Right? So,
Okay.
yes. We don't like to rotate
No.
too
Well,
much.
I'm sorry, had I known your guest would be talking about this, I would have pulled down Don Henley's Dirty Laundry.
No.
I had it in the system for about a year, but then I had to record over it, you know?
Well, you know, of all the Don Henley solo songs, that's probably my favorite. So if you want to bring it back to rotation, that'd be good, Jerry. I like it. That's a good one. When were the Foo Fighters? Saturday?
Saturday, yeah. I think I just got my hearing back yesterday.
I have not been to a concert yet, but I've heard Larry Goldwyn. I heard it's great. It's a great venue.
It is.
And I'm getting sold.
We're back. We're back. We're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Monday 105.5 FM, part of the Wall Street Business Network. Josh was just saying that he and his wife went and saw Foo Fighters over the weekend. He's just now getting his hearing back.
Yep, it's
Gold
coming
one.
back.
And you have you have kids, including a son who just broke his arm yesterday.
Yeah, well, it was Monday.
Monday, I'm sorry.
So he
Couple
did
days
finally get the cast. He's got a nice bright green, incredible whole cast
Awesome.
on. So
Awesome.
we wanted to know he's indestructible. That's always a good plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, Monday I was in Yakima, Washington. Monday. It's
Wow.
a fantastic place to be if you've never been there. No, I was there for work, but if you ever tried to get to Yakima, there's not a lot of easy ways to get there. So I actually was on a 6 o'clock flight out of Sacramento to get me into Seattle around 8, a 10:15 flight to Yakima to get me around 11:15, and then a 6:30 flight out of Yakima to get me to Seattle around 7:37, and then an 8:30 flight to get me to Sacramento at 10:30. That's about as good as you can do it if you go to Yakima.
How many
in
people
one day.
fit in the plane from Seattle to Yakima?
You know what? Actually, it's 4 seats across.
Okay.
It's a big old prop plane with the 6-blade prop, and so that's a fine flight. I've flown. I used to do some recruiting at Notre Dame for our company, and so I would go from Chicago to South Bend, and that was a much smaller prop plane.
Okay.
That was one of the 2-seaters, and you kind of feel a lot more.
When you can see the
jet
pilot.
stream. Yeah,
That's always fun.
yeah. And they don't have beverage service, and they don't really even have a flight attendant. So Arik, get back to what we're talking about. So you went from not just laundry, but now you've expanded to packages. And
Yeah.
so how long ago did you guys start doing that?
So that company really started about 2013.
13,
That's
okay.
when we started. Started with a couple pilots in San Francisco, some buildings where they let us put the lockers in and really test the technology, and start growing it.
So in addition to, I could see uses in college campuses. My my middle daughter's a freshman at San Diego State, and you walk into her dorm and there's this massive pile of packages
Yep.
behind the counter. So I could see it at colleges,
Yep, we're there.
retirement communities, potentially. I don't know, not a lot of retirement people at this point in our history are ordering online, but as those of us
I think we'll see that
get
growing
older,
for sure.
I think you'd
Absolutely,
see that grow. So where else?
So a big market for us is retailers. So we work with some of the largest retailers in the country who are putting lockers into their vestibules to handle buy online, pick up in store. So about 40% of what people buy online from major retailers is picked up in the store. And so you're going to the front counter, the customer service desk, waiting in line, kind of kills the experience.
Right.
Versus, now you'll get a text message that says, hey, thanks for your online order. It's ready to pick up. It's in the locker. Go scan this QR code. You pick up your package.
Oh, that's
So we're
a
doing
great
some pretty
idea,
nationwide
yeah.
rollouts of that. Super exciting opportunity as well.
And for the consumer, then they don't have to pay delivery. It's just like if you were to pick it up in the store.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we're also working with some mail centers, pick up mailbox, etc. type model.
Right.
For people who, get their mail and their packages handed to the stores, so now they can pick up not only their mail after hours, but they can pick up their packages after hours too. Lots of opportunities.
That's
There's many
fascinating.
more I could go on. We'll list
Yeah,
about
that's-
20 for you.
that's
Yeah.
great. So you were in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That's where you started the business and
Yep.
ran the business from. But at some point in time, you decided to move. Maybe walk us through how that came to be.
Yeah, so I was in San Francisco for about 15 years, moved there in 2000, and amazing city, love San Francisco. I don't think I'd actually be an entrepreneur today if it wasn't for San Francisco. It's a market which just really enables and empowers entrepreneurs and is very accepting of new ideas, right? I mean, laundry, a lot of business is all about being at the right place at the right time.
Yes.
Right? Laundry Locker in 2005 when we started it in San Francisco was the right place and right time. If we'd started it earlier, it wouldn't have worked. If we'd started in a different market, I don't think it would have worked.
Right.
San Francisco has been a key to me and my business and my experience. But I was getting a little older, wanted to have kids, and honestly, when people say, why do you leave San Francisco? It was the traffic. In the last 5 years, San Francisco has become a very difficult city to live in. I always loved that San Francisco was such an easy city to live in, and you could drive everywhere and you could get to places quickly. The city has changed quite a bit, and it's also changed from a business climate perspective. I mean, hiring, retaining people, growing, trying to find real estate. It's just not the type of market that's conducive to a business model like we have at LuxerOne. And so my wife and I started looking at different places and that we'd want to live, and so we're kind of looking up and down the West Coast. I knew I wanted to stay out here. She's actually from Orangevale, and said, well, why don't we go check out Sacramento? And I didn't realize I was actually being duped into this. And so I was like, there's no way in the world I'm moving to Sacramento. I mean, my experience, I'd never actually even been to Sacramento. From San Francisco, I'd go up to Tahoe all the time. You never even you drive right past, right? And so we came and spent the weekend here, and went to downtown, Midtown. We started looking at some houses. She said, why don't we go look at some houses? And for the cost of one bedroom in San Francisco, I could buy a 4 or 5 bedroom house in some of the nicest areas in Sacramento. And I said, well, this is actually fantastic, and I'm only an hour and 15. We drive on Sunday morning. She got me there too, right? So no traffic, an hour 15 to the city. This is great. If I need to go down to handle laundry locker in the city, I could do that in a hot, skip, and jump. And so we moved up here. I was running the business out of my house at the time, so it worked out really well. And it's just been fantastic, a million times better than I ever could have expected. It's been great from a personal perspective, from a family perspective. It's been great from a business perspective. We've been able to grow. We've been able to hire. We've been able to retain people. And it's really exciting because, in San Francisco, a company like this would just sort of, people, oh yeah, that's an interesting concept. In Sacramento, there's not that many, what I would consider startup tech companies that are growing at the speed that we are. And, we call recruiters, people are just excited to come work for us. And in San Francisco, they would be too, but they'd have so much more competition, and we'd be paying twice as much for them. So it's been an incredible, one of the best business moves I've made is bringing the business up here. And we found suppliers, and we're working with some local manufacturing companies. Forget about that in the Bay Area, trying to find somebody to manufacture lockers, right? So opens that up. The Northern California hub for our distributor is 2 miles away from our factory, so that's where we warehouse all of our lockers, and provides a lot of cost efficiencies and stuff there as well. So really been excited about the move.
So where'd you end up locating the business?
We're over off of Power and Road,
Okay.
off the 50.
Great. And when did you decide to go live here and keep it in San Francisco to bring the business over here?
So at the time, when I first moved here, it was really me for the most part, and a couple sales folks. So our sales team's still actually based out of San Francisco, and we have like 5 or 6 people there. But then once we needed to start staffing, in fact, initially I said, well, we'll build this as a remote business. A lot of businesses were sort of are being built that way, where you've got remote employees.
Right.
And so we had employees like doing customer service in Chicago and fulfillment in Ohio, and people scattered all over the world. But as we start to grow, that just wasn't sustainable. And so I said, let's get a small office in Sacramento, and I'll work there. And I had an assistant at the time, so he and I worked there together. And we said, let's start hiring some people. So we started hiring some people, and so now we're up to, this was about a year ago, and now we've got about 60 people in Sacramento. We've moved. This is our 3rd location that we moved into now. We just brought on some more square footage there. So yeah, we're struggling with how do we, space planning is now becoming a really big challenge. How do you get the right amount of space for us?
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur that moved, started a headquarters in Sacramento versus having a headquarters in San Francisco, I know there's a lot of talk about, trying to recruit some of those businesses out of the Bay Area to the Sacramento area. What are some of the advantages you found headquartering your business in Sacramento?
I think the biggest advantage is really the labor. So the access to people, skilled staff, great people, and people that are not being recruited as aggressively as they would be in San Francisco. You hire a developer in San Francisco, the guy's getting 15 calls a day to try to poach him to bring to the next person. So number one advantage is probably people, second space and access to, especially if you're dealing with like real product versus software. You know, software doesn't require a ton of space, doesn't require a ton of people.
Right.
Hardware does. And so, you know, if you're doing something like that, this is a fantastic climate for a great ecosystem for every type of supplier that you need around here, and you know, great place to live.
Excellent.
Yeah, well, glad you guys have brought your business and yourselves here to Sacramento area. I think it's exciting for the Sacramento market to continue to have businesses like yours.
Yeah, it's been incredibly welcoming and great to meet fellow entrepreneurs. Part of EO Entrepreneurs Organization. Right. That's been a tremendous opportunity for me to really get to network into the local community.
Well, so maybe real quick, tell us what EO is about.
Yeah, Entrepreneurs Organization, it's the largest entrepreneurs organization in the world. I don't know how many people, maybe 20,000 people. I was in the San Francisco chapter. We had 100-something people there, and moved up to the Sacramento chapter. And it's, you know, in order to qualify, you have to have started a company, and the company needs to do over $1 million in revenue. If you do that, you qualify, and then we go through a process of vetting people, talking to them, and if it's kind of a good fit, you join this, and it's really, it's kind of like AA for entrepreneurs. You know, as an entrepreneur, there's very few people that you can talk to about a lot of stuff. I mean, there's stuff you don't want to talk to your wife about, you can't talk to your employees about. You know, you need an outlet, and when you sit in a room with 10 fellow entrepreneurs who are all built the business at that same level,
They've been there, they've done that.
yeah, it's a whole different conversation.
Well, we've got about a minute left, so to wrap up. Unfortunately, we had a caller, didn't get a chance to get to it today. But are we done, Jerry? All right. Well, I was going to ask you what you learned, maybe a lesson learned, but we're out of time. So you've done a fantastic job today, Arik. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mark.
Absolutely.
Congratulations on your successes.
Yeah.
Definitely enjoy hearing about it.
Josh, thanks for being on the show, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks.
20th.
All right. Sounds good. All right, everyone. Have a good day. We'll be back next week. Time goes so fast.
It's amazing how fast an hour goes, right?
Yeah. Isn't it though? Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be for an hour. It's gonna be,
what are we gonna do? And yet time goes.